So I know that prayer is powerful because I have seen it work. There were times where I was able to witness people be healed because of prayer. I was able to see change come solely because of prayer when I had a deeper understanding that it was prayer that helped people to get the things that they needed, not just the things they wanted, or that I saw people who would come in sad and their entire countenance change just because of going to the altar and receiving prayer, that people were freed, and not just the healing outwardly, but healing from within inside. So that's how I know that prayer is powerful.
I know that prayer is powerful. I have two things. I'll do the first one a little quick, but it was when my daughter turned 21 years old. I got sick, and the doctor diagnosed her as having the Guillain-Barré. And she was admitted to the hospital. One morning she called me, I was at work, and said that she couldn't see, then she couldn't walk. So she had to go through physical therapy at the hospital. My mother-in-law, Bernice Gross, and I fasted and prayed, and we prayed and fasted, and today Sherry is well. She lives in California, and she is doing well. She has never had that problem again. So I know that prayer does work because of that. The other thing is, I was traveling on the turnpike on my way back to Pittsburgh, and the car I was riding in was hit by an 18-wheeler. And I hit the car so hard, we were going around in circles. And I closed my eyes because I knew that it was the end. And all I could say was Jesus. I didn't have time to do a serious prayer, but I braced myself and called on Jesus because I felt that this was the end. I was on my way. But God spared our lives. We all walked away. It was 6 of us in the car. We all walked away. Nobody had a scratch, but the car was total.
I learned how to pray through my mom. My mother was a very praying woman. Matter of fact, when she got saved, she went along with one of the sisters in our church, and they would go from house to house praying for people. So I was very much in love with prayer, and God has taken me through the years. After He saved me, God taught me how to pray. And there are so many things that I had gone through that I was so glad that I knew how to pray and depend upon God. And not only do you have to pray, but you have to remember that God, you can depend on Him at any time, all the time. And He knows what is in your heart, but He wants you to let Him know what you want. And down through the years, God has kept me from a lot of things because I learned how to pray. And I thank God for a praying mother. I thank God for a praying church mother. I thank God for a praying pastor's wife. When we grew up with Mother Gross and Elder Gross, they were praying people. And prayer changes things. I'm a witness to that. Prayer definitely changes things. And you know what? When I go to bed at night, I depend on God to be there all through the night, watching over us, protecting us. As we go through our daily walk with God, I depend on God to take us through tests and trials. He didn't promise that we wouldn't have them, but He did promise that He would be there with us all the time. So we can always depend on God. And I love to pray. I know that prayer is powerful because there were times when I prayed, I would lay in my bed when I wake up in the morning, and it was a time that I spent with God. And I knew that God had answered my prayers because He would allow me to feel the strength of our prayers. You know when you've touched God and that God has heard your prayers and that God is going to be with you and that He's going to take you through. I've been through a lot of tests and trials, but God, I know He answered my prayer. There was a time when I was, my husband was alive, and there were times when I wanted to leave, and we were in the service. He was in the service, and we were up in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. And there were things that I was aware of that were not right with my husband and I. And I wanted to come back home. I wanted to come back to Pittsburgh. And the Lord let me know that He was really the one who had ordained me to marry Him and to be with Him and to produce our children. I really was at the point where I wanted to just not be married and just go my way and let Him go His way. But I couldn't. And I knew that God had answered my prayer whenever things began to change for me. He didn't change him necessarily, but He changed me and my attitude. And I knew it had to be God, because nobody else, I was determined to do what I wanted to do, but God let me know that that was not His desire for me, and that I had to obey Him, not man, not me. He wasn't going to obey me, but God was going to bless me if I allow Him to take me through whatever it was that I had to go through. And I realized that sometimes we go through things not because of ourselves, but because we need to instruct someone else that they can go through. And He let me know that He was using me so that I could explain to others and encourage others when they needed to be encouraged, that if I couldn't go through it, if I couldn't, trust Him to take me through, that I would not be able to encourage someone else. So He let me know that I was to be an example for other young women, and that I could go through it because of Him, because of His power, not mine, but because of God. And the Lord just took me through. And I knew that I was going to be a blessing to somebody, because I would allow God to take me through the tests and trials that I had to go through. It was not on my own. He made me. He took me through. He was my source of help. And all of my help comes from God. Not me. I'm nothing without Him. But God. We can always depend on Him.